They threw you into the dark, expecting you to beg for light. They thought the silence would break you, that the emptiness would eat you alive, that you'd crawl, desperate, reaching for a hand that would never come. But monsters don't fear the dark. They become it. The world has no mercy for the weak. Either you survive the fall or you let it consume you. There is no middle ground, no pause button, no sympathy. The weak pray for a savior. The strong learn to save themselves. They wanted you alone, isolated, cut off from hope. They thought if they abandoned you, you'd wither away. That without their validation, without their approval, you'd shrink into nothing. But something else happened, didn't it? You learned. You learned that pain is a teacher, that loneliness is a forge, and in its heat, you became something they never expected. They thought rejection would shatter you, but it hardened you. They thought you'd spend your days mourning the loss of people who never deserved you. They expected you to break, to crumble under the weight of it all. Instead, you rebuilt yourself with sharper edges. Every scar became a lesson. Every betrayal became fuel. Every moment of suffering became a stepping stone, carrying you deeper into the version of yourself that no longer needs anyone's permission to exist. They made one fatal mistake. They assumed the dark would destroy you. They assumed silence was your cage. They assumed you would never recover. But here you are, unshaken, unbreakable, unapologetic. They locked you in the dark, thinking it was your end. They didn't realize it was your origin story. They thought the dark would break you, that fear would keep you in chains. But here's what they never understood. Fear only controls those who bow to it. Most people spend their lives running from fear, terrified of being alone, paralyzed by the thought of failure, desperate to be seen, to be remembered, to be validated. They obey their fears like loyal servants, making every choice based on what scares them the least. But not you. You stopped running. You turned around and faced it. And that's when everything changed. Because fear isn't some all-powerful force. It's an illusion, a shadow that grows only when you refuse to look at it. The moment you stepped forward, it had nowhere left to hide. They crumble under fear because they still believe in it. You embraced it until it had no power over you. They're afraid of the unknown. You've lived in it. They're afraid of rejection. You've been through worse. They're afraid of starting over. You burned everything down and built yourself back up. What they fear, you became. They can't understand why you don't flinch, why you don't hesitate, why their words no longer cut the way they used to. It's because you've already seen the worst. You've already felt the cold grip of despair and walked through it untouched. That's what separates you from them. They fall because they believe in fear. You rise because you destroyed it. Fear only exists for those who kneel to it. You made it kneel. Fear bowed to you, but that wasn't enough. You didn't just break free from its chains. You shattered them so they could never hold you again. While they still beg for a way out, still whisper desperate prayers for someone to save them, you made a choice they'll never understand. You stopped waiting. The weak cry for rescue, hoping the world will throw them a rope. You realized no one was coming. No hero, no miracle, no hand to pull you from the abyss. And that was the moment you became unstoppable. Because when you stop begging for light, you become the fire. They thought the dark would leave you helpless, but you never needed their mercy, their approval, or their permission. The moment you stopped asking for a way out was the moment you created your own. That's the difference between them and you. They wait for opportunities. You take them. They seek shelter. You build fortresses. They pray for a savior. You became your own. They still don't get it. They don't understand why the same darkness that swallowed them whole only made you stronger. Why their nightmares became your playground. Why instead of fading, you became something else entirely. Because you don't just survive in the dark anymore. You set it ablaze. And now, they can't ignore you. The same ones who once doubted you, abandoned you, underestimated you. They're the ones shielding their eyes from the fire you've become. You don't need their light anymore. Now you burn brighter than anything they've ever seen. They watched as you burned through the darkness, expecting the flames to consume you. But instead of turning to ash, you forged yourself into something unbreakable. And now, they don't know what to do with you. See, they liked you better when you were weak, when you needed their approval, when you still cared what they thought. Back then, you were predictable, easy to control, a puppet dangling on the strings of their expectations. But then something changed. You stopped playing by their rules. You stopped seeking their validation. You became someone they can't manipulate. And that's when the whispers started. You've changed. You're not the same person anymore. You're so cold now. But let's be real. What they're really saying is, you're no longer easy to control. Because when you were kind, they took advantage. When you were patient, they tested your limits. When you forgave, they walked all over you. They fed off your softness, mistaking it for weakness. And the moment you stopped tolerating their disrespect, they painted you as the villain. They call you ruthless. But the truth is, they're just angry that their tricks don't work on you anymore. They used to laugh when you were weak. Now, they're terrified. They thought they could break you and walk away without consequences. Thought you'd stay down, shattered, crawling for their approval. They laughed when you struggled, whispered behind your back when you fell. They mistook your silence for surrender. But here's what they never understood. Monsters don't forget. You don't need revenge. You don't need to strike back with cheap shots or petty games, because your existence alone is a reckoning. Every breath you take, every level you rise, every ounce of success you build, it cuts deeper than any blade ever could. See, they were comfortable when you were beneath them. It made them feel powerful to watch you stumble, to pretend they were above you. But now, they're the ones looking over their shoulders. They can feel it, the shift. The same people who once doubted you now whisper your name with hesitation. The same ones who walked away now pretend they never left. They want to rewrite history, as if they weren't the ones who betrayed you first. But you remember. Oh, you remember. And the best part? You don't even have to lift a finger, because success is the sharpest blade. It slices through their egos, their false confidence, their illusion of superiority. And the worst thing for them? Watching you rise without them. They turn their backs on you. Now, They have to live with what they lost. They lost their chance. The moment they doubted you, turned their backs and whispered behind closed doors. That was their mistake. They thought you'd stay broken, questioning yourself, waiting for a second chance that would never come. But you're not waiting anymore. No more hesitation, no more doubt, no more hoping things will change. You changed. You don't move with fear anymore. You move with certainty. You walk with the weight of someone who's been through hell and came out carrying fire. They see it in your eyes now. That sharpness, that unwavering, unstoppable force that no longer asks for permission, and that terrifies them. So they do what cowards do. They throw shade from the sidelines. They spread doubt, hoping you'll slip. They whisper to themselves, trying to convince each other that you haven't really changed, that this is just a phase, that the old you is still in there somewhere, waiting to crumble. But you're too far gone, too powerful, too focused. Their words don't touch you. Their opinions don't shape you. Because you understand something they never will. Power belongs to those who refuse to give it away. You don't need their approval. You don't care about their validation. Because monsters don't fear the dark. They own it. And now, so do you.